Hello, strong soul. Great to see you in another moment of the now. Today's transmission is pretty powerful. It's more like some sort of guideline or blueprint on how to walk through life cycles, particularly, it came through as life can be cruel. That's a reality check. And the idea here is, what are you going to do about it? If you knew that a matter of life is that there can be circumstances that are outside of your control that may be unfair, cruel, or outside of your liking, what are you going to do about it? Are we going to kind of sit and make a tantrum or play the victim or bring it all upon us, or use that to do better, right? Is like situations that either break you or make you. So just having that reality check instead of avoiding discomfort or avoiding situations that are outside of your control or that could be cruel, is what can you do about it? How can you season yourself? How can you develop an attitude or a perspective that allows you to navigate the unfairness in life or the cruelty? So here I have, like I said, it's a bit of a blueprint. So we have some steps to walk through and to consider that may help you throughout these tough times. First and foremost, it starts with solitude, which can be a time for prosperity, right? A lot of people confuse the fact of feeling lonely with solitude. Solitude is a virtue that you can cultivate by learning how to be with yourself, how to love yourself, how to enjoy your own company, how not just to disengage or disconnect unless you're surrounded by other people that validate you. So some of the moments in life that may be cruel, we may feel that we're lonely or that we're all on our own. And the first thing is to see that opportunity as a time for prosperity, to cultivate your solitude, to learn how to regulate yourself, to learn how to look after yourself and take care of yourself regardless, not just when you're surrounded, not just when other people are giving you what you want, but how can you be that person for yourself? How can you be of support to yourself first and foremost, regardless, right? So once you're able to see, not being surrounded necessarily by people instead of being lonely, it's an opportunity, again, time for prosperity, to cultivate your solitude, to become stronger within yourself, to be yourself regardless, with or without. um, Once it's solitude implies also, which takes us to the next part of the blueprint, which is responsibility. Responsibility in this part, it means getting things done for yourself. Again, in moments of that may seem cruel or that are outside of your control or seem unfair, we do have to take responsibility for our behavior. It's not just like I'm misbehaving because I was mistreated. It's like I was mistreated, how am I going to do better, right? Because responsibility is behaving well even when you have the opportunity or the excuses to behave poorly, or when nobody's watching. That's integrity. That's basically one of the main fuels that feeds, if you may, the authentic soul, the strength of the soul, because you're not just because, or you're not in a state of condition or conditional. I'll do this if this happens, or I will be like this if they do this. That's conditional thinking, and that's what usually keeps us trapped, because it's like, oh, but they didn't do this. It's like, yeah, but this is a person, life is a personal assignment. You may have collaborations and you may work with a team sometimes, but in general, you're going to be assessed throughout life by your own making. So in the matters that you learn how to cultivate your solitude, become responsible for yourself, become accountable for your behavior, and get things done for yourself regardless. You begin to take action towards a circumstance that might have otherwise seemed like very cruel. And again, outside of your control, there's things that we can't change, yet we can always outwards, we can always work inwards with our attitude, with our perspective. And taking responsibility for yourself also means being flexible and being open to learning new skills that may be required at the time. Maybe the situation comes to shove and we need to learn how to be lean and how to let go and how to take upon new skills to get things done for ourselves, because otherwise some people don't take care of themselves because somebody else didn't do something for them. That's, again, that's conditional, and that's just putting our homework on somebody else's hand. Of course, there's times where we need a crew, where we need support. That's why we're here, but we can only help to a certain degree. And there's people that just get very entitled and they don't even take care of their own personal basic needs just because somebody else didn't do something, and it's almost they're sabotaging themselves, They're using it even as a manipulation skill, right? Like, I'm going to stay unhealthy until other people pay attention to me. Like, mind the habits, mind the behaviors within yourself or within loved ones as well, or in your relationships, right? Because as you begin to work this in yourself, you may begin to see these patterns in others. So here, just we're going to spice it with a compassion, understanding that everybody's in their own part of the assignment. But again, I'm just going to keep repeating to kind of be connecting the dots, is that the solitude, the responsibility, learning new skills. And then this takes you to a space of balance, cultivating balance. It's a harmonious flow. It's finding what your state of love feels like. Love, I like to see it as an acronym for line of vital energy. There's one love that is romanticized, right? There's some romantic love. That's one part of it. But there's a lot of people, again, that hold themselves back or feel that love is cruel, or they're heartbroken, or their relationship didn't work the way they wanted. That's one aspect of love. But self-love comes first. It's very hard to have somebody love you if you don't love yourself. And then once you set standards for yourself of how you like to be loved and what your state of love feels like, you'll find a match. You'll know who's meeting your requirements or not. This is a learning curve, and that's what relationships can be for. But if this fits in your situation and you've had tough luck in love, mind romantic love with self-love, because a lot of people that lack self-love are just lurking around to look for other people to love them, and they usually meet themselves. So it's people that lack self-love, yet they embark themselves in a relationship with somebody else that lacks self-love. So there's just like a cycle and a cocktail of insecurities and projection and wounds. And again, you can come through that together. Yet if you're not in a relationship yet, it's great that you can start working on your self-love, so you may find a healthier relationship firsthand. Again, relationships are incredible, and they're like relationship like a ship. So you can either buy one that meets your standards because you know what you're looking for. You can always get one and refurbish it yourself. You can always collaborate. Like, there's no right or wrong, right? Just saying, like, sometimes if you don't know what you're looking for, you may just end up with somebody that is extremely wounded, that is looking to cope through you, right? And then we feel like, oh, they broke my heart because they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And I'm like, where were you at when you found them? What were you looking for in a relationship? And sometimes things happen. And this is where, not sugarcoating it, life can be cruel. Things can just not happen or be very unfair. And then what are you going to do about it? Retrieve. Time for prosperity. Again, go into your solitude, figure yourself out first and foremost, do things for yourself, be responsible for your behavior, learn the new skills, whether that's emotional maturity or housekeeping or any sort of skill that will help you get out of that funk, right? Out of that place of feeling that things are unfair, that things are not happening. There's always ways to get creative. Now, even now more than ever, like, healing and wellness is being normalized more than it ever has. And we have all of these resources to do better for ourselves, to find that balance. Again, that harmony. Find what your state of love feels like, because that's different for everybody. Everybody idealizes the romantic love as that, what should be pursued. That's one way, right? But it first starts with setting your own bandwidth, setting your own standards of what self-love looks like and what caring for yourself feels like. And then you start matching your outside reality with that. Does this person treat me the way I treat myself? Yes. How do I treat myself? Because I love myself and I take care of myself, probably that person will be good for me. But if I don't like myself and I'm constantly sabotaging myself, that person may just reflect my love wounds, right? So bringing that awareness, and with all of this, you become more aware of your own self, more aware on how you play a role in different circumstances in your life. And although some may just be very unfair and outside of your control and almost like random, there's others where we can almost like trace back our footprints and be like, oh yeah, my fingerprints are all over that. Like, I did play a role, whether it was conscious or unconscious. But when you're able to recognize that, there's also a massive lesson there, so that you can snap out of that cycle, activate an upgrade and get out of that level, like graduate from that level. And here's where the entrepreneur comes in. The next step would be developing a vision, having ambitions. And ambitions, not necessarily in a greedy way. Ambitions is like, you have a vision. What do you want for yourself? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Sometimes going through cruel times or unfair situations gives you that contrast. Like, this is exactly what I never want to manifest in my life again. So how did I get here so that I can get myself out of here and create almost the opposite? So using that as a reference point or a benchmark, and then as an entrepreneur, embark yourself in a new venture and find and develop that vision of what that looks like for you. And you develop ambitions, because ambitions are your North Star. They give you that life force, that joy that wakes you up in the morning. You're like, I want to cultivate this for myself. And again, it comes together with all of the previous steps that we've mentioned. Time for prosperity, as you dive into your solitude and figure out what your own codes are, what your own blueprint, what your own desires, what your own purpose is, what your own mission. Getting things done for yourself, learning the skills, balancing them, figuring out what your state of love feels like, right? And then your vision becomes almost concrete. It becomes so clear. And then those ambitions fuel your day-to-day behavior. Is this in alignment with my vision? Is this in alignment with balance? Does this feel like my ideal state of love? And it's a muscle. Remember, like it's like the vision board, like you have it there, and every day you remind yourself, like when you're trying to get fit and you go every day to the gym, it's not just like you go one day or one week and it's done. It's almost like fitness is a lifestyle. It's not even like 3 months. It's like it's a lifestyle to stay active and to stay in a constant state of love. Mind you, it's not perfect all the time. It doesn't mean that you love everything all the time. It doesn't mean that you go through a funk or moods. It just means that you remember why you're doing things for. You remember your why, right? So even if one day you trip or you have like some sort of like a lean day where you give yourself a break and you take it easier, you always come back to that North Star, to that vision, to that ambition. And here the last reminder, which is kind of summarizing everything else: practice makes the teacher. There's this phrase, something along the lines, never quote me, I'm just like reminding, trying to remember things and paraphrasing, yet it's like, what's the difference between the teacher and the apprentice? The teacher has failed more times than the apprentice has ever dared to try. And that's where we have to start, somewhere, and practice. Improve your qualifications, your talents, your expertise, right? And as you build up, we still make mistakes, yet we have a lot more attempts under our belt, so we know more ways even on how not to do something, and that even gives you confidence, because you know that you won't fail in the same ways that you have already. And it's not even failing if you never give up. It's more like, you want to see it more like training, where you try and you're improving yourself, and there's days where you just do it for the sake of repetition and discipline, and there's some days where you actually get a masterpiece. And from one perspective, it's a numbers game. A lot of savants or creators or people that created masterpieces, we know there are 3 masterpieces. What we don't know is that behind that were 5,000 drafts. We see that one novel, that we always see the overnight success. We don't know all of the sleepless nights before that. So mind you, in staying humble and staying human and practicing and knowing that if I told you that you're going to get one masterpiece out of 100 attempts, where would you start? You have to start somewhere and practicing. And again, this helps you get outside of any situation that may feel cruel. So this is a quest that only you can embark yourself by doing things for yourself, getting things done for yourself for the sake of your own wellness, because nobody's ever going to care more about you than you do yourself. Like nobody's going to respect you more than you respect yourself. Respect is not something you demand. It's something that you stand for. Right? So again, just different angles of the same coin, different sides, I guess. Practice makes you the master, the mentor, and just like keep on going with that. And again, it's a practice. So then when you confront or face cruel times or unfair times, you have some tools in your toolkit and you have some resources and skills to get yourself out of that, learn from that, craft, and keep on going. Keep on pursuing your purpose and strengthening your mission. And sometimes these delays or these mishaps or misfortunes are also redirecting us towards what we are meant to be doing instead, right? Some people are like, oh, I got fired and this is so unfortunate. And then that takes them to the next project and then they end up pursuing their dreams. Whereas if they would have stayed in that job, they might have not seen that. So sometimes opportunities are hidden in cruel times or unfair times. Again, mind you, it looks different for everybody. So that's why I give you enough perspective to discern where are you at, because we need, first and foremost, your intuitive feeling and your discernment to be like, okay, what kind of cruel times am I going through? What needs to be done? It's not the hammer for every situation. It's not the same tool. It's more like your common sense and getting to know yourself to discern what needs to be done at that time. Yet, I pray that this blueprint, that these steps or this guideline gives you a little bit more clarity whether where may you be at in your own process and what can you grab on to get yourself out of there and cultivate a better attitude towards adversity. And just to kind of wrap up, mind you, there's just three reminders. Mind you, ignoring your intuition, because that sometimes takes you to places that are even more cruel. And that's also part of the lesson. Like if I keep ignoring myself, life is may just seem more and more and more unfair because I am disassociating from my gut feeling, from my intuitive compass. So mind you, ignoring your intuition over and over. Also, harmful secrets, keeping things from yourself or keeping things from others when what is required is to be authentic. Sometimes you also have to learn how to speak up. This is my passion. This is what I need to do, right? Sometimes life feels cruel because we're just not holding our own vibration. We're just not taking a stand for what we represent, for our dreams, for our passions. We just postpone ourselves for the comfort of others. So mind you with the harmful secrets in that sense, like keeping your powers and your gifts and your light secret. It's going to hurt. Light burns if you try to cover it up, right? So I commend you for your strength. You have what it takes to get yourself out of anything you might have gotten yourself into. And little by little, take it one day at a time by honing your gifts and your passions. And also mind the superficial matters. Getting stuck in things that are too superficial to really matter. Like sometimes we can just make a storm out of a water glass. I think it goes something like that. And it's just like it's not that big of a deal and it's really superficial, but that's just holding us back from actually pursuing our potential. And it's actually pretty meaningless. So I also mind you on the self-awareness, on not getting stuck on the superficial matters, go deep. And that's why solitude brings so much prosperity, because with solitude we remove distractions and what will they say, what other people think. We stop ruminating on other people's opinions and we go into what really matters, the matters of the soul. So up until here for this transmission, I really appreciate your presence and your patience. And as for me, I will see you in another moment of the now.